Hi, everyone. My name is Jerod Impichchaachaaha Tate. I'm a citizen of the Chickasaw Nation here in Oklahoma, and I'm a professional classical composer. I consciously made the decision to dedicate my life to the development of American Indian classical composition, and every piece that I compose is based on North American Indian history and culture and ethos. Iholba was one of two pieces that was a direct result of my travels with my grandmother, Foshi, my Chickasaw grandmother. We traveled back to the homelands where we're originally from the Mississippi area. That's where Southeastern American Indians are from, is from the Southeast. And then we were removed to Oklahoma in the 1830s. And so, but my grandmother knows our history so well, and so we took several trips back together to the homelands. I just made this work very autobiographical, just about my personal spiritual journey as a Chickasaw man and how I was feeling at that time. And the second movement is about running through canyons and through scenery, and it's like running through my heritage, and that's where the rhythm is constant, and it's just like moving very quickly. So that's what that's about. The first movement is very introspective about my life and what I was born to be and how I see myself, and so yeah, just very autobiographical throughout. They sing the Garfish Dance song in the middle of the first movement when they're singing Yo Lene. That is me talking to my ancestors right there. That is me dreaming about my origins and dreaming of their voices in the past. That's me. That's right there. And that's something that everybody relates to is, we come from somewhere. We come from a rich history. Every person on this planet comes from a very colorful and complex history. And when we think of our ancestors that didn't know that we would be alive, thinking about them, it's a real that river of time is really powerful to all people. And so that's my calling. I'm calling to them, and they're calling to me at the exact same time. That moment in that piece is that, and then after that it climaxes, and there's like a really big moment where I'm just like, I'm really feeling what I just thought about that memory of them, even though I've never met them. So there's a lot of that. That's a lot of just inner poetry about my feelings about who I am and where I come from. As performers, I mean, we're used to playing works from all kinds of composers, from all kinds of backgrounds already. Of course, yeah, as singers, we sing in multiple languages from around the world. I mean, that's what singers do. That's their jam. That's their focus. And so this is really just the same thing with a vocal work like Iholba. Well, I'm asking the singers just to be honestly really good singers, and to sing it as well as they may sing anything in Latin or in Chinese or in German, any other language that they may have had an experience with. And the thing that's really great about Chickasaw is that for English singers is that it's actually quite an English phonetic base in its spellings. And that's because, our first translators were English speakers. And so it's actually really quite easy for people who read English to read Chickasaw. It also sounds really beautiful. And if I were to explain how it sounds to an ear that is familiar with other languages, I would say that it sounds very similar to a mix between, I guess, Latin and maybe some French, kind of in between that, and maybe a little Hungarian, something like that. I guess, it's kind of a little twisty like that. So that would be, so there's nothing intimidating about it, for sure. It's just another language for awesome singers to sing, and that's what they do all the time anyway. If we look at the other fine arts, it's the same circumstance. So, like, for instance, people from all over the world fly into the Santa Fe Indian market every single year to purchase American Indian art and take it home and wear it as jewelry, as clothing, to put it on their walls, as blankets, on their beds. I mean, all kinds of things. That's what it's meant for. It's meant to be shared by those artists, and that's very deliberate. It is modern art. It's visionary. We are part of the world stage on that. We are players in this community of art, and so it is a desire for American Indian art to be out in the world and to be shared and enjoyed by other folks as well. And so it's the same thing in literature. It's like, Joy Harjo is our Muskogee Creek Poet Laureate for the United States of America. Well, everybody needs to read her books. It's not just for American Indians to read, it's for everybody to read and to absorb and feel and grow and connect with Joy on a spiritual level. That's what the purpose of art is. That's exactly what I'm doing. So it's like, if we're playing La Mer, well, a Korean orchestra can play Debussy's La Mer, and not one of them is French. And yet La Mer is full of French melodies and French sensibilities and impressionism that's very, very iconic to French culture. But there's no barriers to that because Debussy composed it with the intention of everybody around the world connecting with that music and performing it at a very high level. And that's exactly what I wish for my music as well. And that's why I say it's repertoire. And so I wish for it to be sung by people of all ethnicities. The piece is full of color. There is theatric drama to it. There's poetic feelings. And it runs the gamut, of all that expression. And so I am definitely very theatric and dramatic in my expression. And it doesn't mean that it's always loud. I mean, it's like I'm dramatic in the introspection as well. And so there's just a lot of feelings that are in this work. And, look, I don't understand Latin, and yet I can listen to a Latin mass and still feel a lot, and so I'm hoping that regardless of where people are from, they can feel colors and feel gestures and they'll have their own emotional narrative that they gain out of that and reflect upon. And and that's what repertoire does. Art makes us all feel human. And so what we're doing is when we're observing art, we're in the same space feeling human together. And that comes with monolithic feelings. Sometimes we feel very unified, and sometimes we feel very diverse in our feelings. And that's what art does, is it helps us experience both of those feelings at the same time. And there's no one particular way for anybody to feel. But the fact that we're all feeling and experiencing at the same time, that's how we're unified, is that we're being human together. And yet we've got this beautiful diversity in how we express that humanity.